Okay, so here are some ideas for using the angels, the strengths of everyday kindness cards. You can use them in counselling, as a social worker, you can use them in training. You might want to use them in a classroom. You know, you can use them with kids, with adults, anywhere where you want to have conversations with people about strengths. Anywhere where you want to talk about the value of strengths and how strengths can be our greatest assets in times of difficulty. Okay, let's go. You can spread the cards out, and I'm going to do that now. You mightn't be able to see much of the table where I'm spreading them. And then, for example, you might ask a person or a group, you know, looking at these cards, is there a card there or two or three that you think are qualities or strengths that you have? And the person may, you know, select some, and you can then use that as a way of having a conversation about how they enact those strengths and why those strengths are important to them and how those strengths have helped them in the past. Or you may choose to say, thinking of someone in your life who really admires you, you know, a friend, someone in your family, a colleague, what would they say were some of your strengths? And that's a great way of asking people to select cards. And then, again, having the same conversation about those strengths. Or you might, for example, say to someone, okay, you know, thinking about your day so far, you know, thinking about all the tiny little moments of strengths and insight that have been in your day so far, can you pick a card that says something about an angel that's entered your life today? So, for example, it could simply be, you know, this card, playfulness. It can be you went into a milk bar and the person behind the counter was playful, and that was a delight. Or it might have been the way someone smiled, or it might have been the enthusiasm that one of your colleagues brought to something. So that's an exercise where you're inviting people to really notice those tiny little moments of strength that are in our day, that often get overwhelmed by the difficulties and the problems we feel. Or, for example, you can use them for team building. So you might say, you might be sitting around with a group of people from a team, and you might say to that group of people, okay, looking at this array of angels or this array of strengths, can you pick a card for each person in the team that represents a strength that they bring to the team? And then you go around the circle and invite people to say why they chose that card and who they chose that card for, and of course giving people the chance to pass if they don't want to speak. But someone might say, well, you know, I'm really inspired by, you know, Mary's way of being really tolerant of other people, or I think that, you know, so-and-so brings a quality of respect to the team. And then you can build on the conversation by saying something like, okay, for the project that your team has coming up, what do you think are the key strengths or the key qualities that you're going to need in the team for that project? And you might have everyone in the room pick one of those and then create a conversation out of, well, how are we going to create those strengths? You know, how are we going to actually embody and bring those strengths to the team? There's also a lot of activities that you can do around goal setting. So, for example, it might be, is there a strength here that you would like to develop yourself more? You know, I might say, for example, that I'd like to learn more about the quality of forgiveness, or be able to bring that into my life more. And you can imagine how useful that might be in a counselling situation, for example. It can be, again, you know, goal setting around a goal that you might have, like, okay, you know, I want to spend more time being adventurous outside, and you can be picking the strengths that might support that goal that you have. You can also do a whole range of really fun activities around random selection. So, for example, putting all the cards together in a pile and turning them over so that you can't see the side of the card, or randomly dealing them and saying to people, okay, you've been dealt 3 cards, or you've randomly selected 3 cards. What do those cards mean to you? What are those? How might those cards be connected, or is there a connection between those 3 cards? And if you were to do more of those 3 strengths in the next week, what would you be doing more of? So there's all kinds of fun ways that you can use them from a random selection point of view. You might, for example, in a seminar or in a planning day or in a workshop, put a card on each chair. And as people come in, they sit down, there's their card, and you might ask them to turn to the person next to them, introduce themselves using that card, saying something about what that card means to them. You might also use the cards in a whole range of ways for storytelling, for creative writing. You know, I could imagine classrooms where you might build creative writing activities around these cards. You might build research activities around these cards, you know. What does vitality really mean? And you might invite students or anyone to search the internet for quotes about vitality. Or the other thing that is fantastic to do is invite people to create their own Angels card. So that's always very powerful. You know, perhaps you might want to supply some blank cards and invite people to do activities like, you know, collage, or, you know, really creating their own angel, creating their own word that they would put on the bottom of that card. And in that way they really engage. You're inviting people to really engage with that quality and that great strength that they would like to bring into their lives.